unique is this 2 weeks here in fall camp when you guys are getting ready for the season, but also really for the only time in the season where your players are going at it one on one?
Yeah, it's good. It's a little shorter this year. We're starting a week later, and so school, we kind of lose a week of that quote unquote camp, August camp, because school will start a little quicker into our camp this year. Because I think classes start maybe Tuesday next
Monday.
week. Yeah,
Monday.
Monday. So it's not quite as long as it normally is. So we really got to make sure we do a good job during this time when really all they have to worry about is football right now because they're getting ready to have some other things put on their plate. But we've got to take advantage of having the extra meeting time, right? Having the just time together, the film sessions, the practices, and just the meetings and even just the team building things. All you got to worry about right now is football and taking care of your body, making sure you rest and recover, making sure you get prepared. We gotta really do a good job with that for this week.
Do you notice a difference each year now, your comfort level when you've got another season at the academy under your belt?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I learn a little bit more because this is unique. There's some things that are unique to this place. And I think our players, every year you feel like they have now being in the system for basically 3 springs and 2 seasons, there's a comfort level there that you feel like you have, but you also have to, you're going to graduate some guys, right? And then there's going to be some guys some new guys that are going to be getting a lot more playing time than they used to. So there's always newness. But at the same time, I feel like I have a pretty good handle on what it is to be here, what it is to work here, what it is to deal with the young men that we get to coach, and it's a privilege. They do a great job. But yeah, I, I I really enjoy it here. I really enjoy what this is, and I think there's also that comfort level with a coaching staff, an offensive staff that's pretty much been together now going into a third year. So there's a lot of continuity there, and we just I think we kind of understand what we're doing as a staff as well. So all those things are positive.
Does it mean for you to have both Coach Guillermo and Coach Zayu, two young but so experienced coaches, not only in their coaching but their playing experience?
Yeah, so obviously it was a great deal and a great opportunity to get Anthony Zayu here from the prep school, and he's already got 2 years in under his belt, coaching within our system. And he has got a lot of experience up front, for sure. And he's just a good leader. He did a great job at the prep school leading those guys. So I think between him and Jay coaching up front, I think that's a really good combination of guys, and they have different personalities, which I think is really good. They can kind of, you got, uh, Jay is obviously, you hear him a little more. He's a really fiery guy, just different personality. But Anthony's a little more reserved, a little calmer. So that I think that's really good. They kind of work together really well. And then of course, Tommy Larndy now has taken over the B backs, and now Ivan can just work with quarterbacks. That frees me up a little bit to be able to sit in some different meeting rooms. So I like the way our staff is right now. Obviously, I'm going to be very involved with the QBs and all the skill guys. But having those guys up front, having those, being in our system, because with Coach Guillermo, when we first got here, he and I were still learning about each other. He'd only been with me for a month, right? When we first got on the job here 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Now it's, there's a really strong comfort level there with him. And now with Anthony coming from the prep school and already being, you know, having experience in our system, I just think it's a really good setup. And I think the kids feel really comfortable with the way that's set up.
Thanks, Coach.
Hmm.
Wags.
Coach, you had talked during the spring about Braxton, learning how to put more touch, not throwing a hole into his receivers. He said he spent a lot of time during the summer working with receivers, trying to build that chemistry. What are you seeing in that regard?
Yeah, I think that's an area he's improved, because it was see how hard I can throw everything. When we first got here, it was I'm going to try to harpoon a guy every time. And so think about him, his arm talent is pretty impressive. He can smooth a throw and it's still going to have plenty of velocity on it, to get in windows and get where we need it to be. So he'll tell you, I'm always saying, hey, smooth, right? Smooth throw. And him now getting used to what type of trajectory, velocity, what's appropriate, in each of these different scenarios that I get in. And given it's really about catchable footballs, right? Where can I put a football where our guy can come down with it, make the play, and then be able to run with it? And definitely see especially over the last 2 years, there's been a lot of growth there.
You had talked about incorporating the receivers and tight ends more. Is this the season that Navy starts targeting the receivers and tight ends a little more than what we've seen so far the last, your first 2 years?
I mean, I think it could be. I do, and there's some young guys making some plays. The tight end deal was always, because Cody was really special when he was healthy, but he just had so many injuries, so it was hard to get a comfort level with really game planning for our tight ends. So could we definitely see more of that? Sure. I mean, it's really production. Where's the production going to come from? Now guys have got to consistently make plays. That's right now the word is consistency. Okay. It's going to be, we see flashes from different skill guys and quarterbacks. And now it's going to be consistency. But I would love to get the tight ends and the split ends the ball more. And I think that'll probably be the case. I really do.
And in terms of the offensive line, 4 returning starters, but it doesn't guarantee that what the success the team had last year carries over. What's your thoughts? And, as Jake Polito came out of the spring at the left guard spot that to succeed Purvis, but is there still a battle there?
There's a battle up front in a lot of ways. And the best thing we have going up front now is I think we're a little deeper than we've been. And so there should be good competition there, and trying to get the best 5, the best combinations, and really the best 8. So you can rotate some guys in there, where they're comfortable. And, whether Jake's going to be the center, Cam's going to be the center. You've got, I think Torrin Smith has had a good camp so far. He's gotten bigger, and he's a kid that started games for us last year. So, he's up at the 285, 290 range, and that's probably 15 pounds heavier than he was this time a year ago. So he is a guy that's shown up on the interior. I like Chef. Okay. I like him. He's, a backup right guard that shows flashes, so he can push Hoke right there. Trying to make sure I'm looking at everyone. Will Hampton's a young guy, who when we signed him, we were real excited, but we just thought, man, this is a kid who we saw a lot of good things on his high school film. Now he's going to be a sophomore this year. He's going to be a second year guy, so he's playing some guard. So on the interior between Cam and Jake and Hoke, and then those other guys, Torrin, Chef and Will Hampton. I think you've got really good competition on the interior. And then you're getting to see, obviously, Malcolm's got another year under his belt at tackle. Heater's getting some reps out there. Crowd, obviously Sean's, is coming back. He's been a little beat up, but he'll be back. So at tackle, just trying to find the right combinations there to have at least 3 that you feel like you can go compete with. You'd love to have 4, but like I said, 3 tackles, 3 guards, and 2 centers. Then you can kind of rotate guys and keep guys a little fresh, because it does, man. That, like in 2024, our first 5 guys did a great job, but they didn't get to come off the field very much, right? And by then the season, you just get a bunch of guys that are kind of worn down. So what we hope we can do is cut down maybe 20% on some of those reps for some of those starters, and maybe that keeps their bodies a little more especially late in the year where they're just not quite as beat up. So that's the process now, and I think we'll be able to do that. Looking at who we have in the depth, And I really think that the offensive line could be a strength for us this year. Last year was the opposite. It was young, it was not a lot of guys back up front and a bunch of skill guys back. It's just the opposite now. And I feel like we're going to have to ride that offensive line but they've shown that they can do some really good things, and a lot of them shown it in games. So that's the main thing is who's going to show up in games, right, and get things done. And we see flashes in practice of new guys, but can they be consistent enough? And then when they got 30,000 people in the stands, are they going to make plays? Are they going to make blocks? Are they going to make good decisions and be consistent for 4 quarters? And so those are some question marks that aren't going to get answered until we play a game or two. It's just the way it is.
Damn, Nolan.
Drew, who's someone this fall who's really caught your attention and maybe wasn't on your radar or wasn't as much of a fixture in the spring?
Well, that's a great question, because I come out of the spring, it was Charles Robinson really had a good spring. You feel like he's a guy that's ready to take the next step. And he's been consistent over the summer. He's had a little bit of a hamstring, so he ain't got to do as much. He's fine, but he's just we're having to kind of, pamper him through practice just a little bit, just to make sure his legs are up under him. A guy like Mike Barrow, who we felt like was coming on. Isaiah Bryant is really, I'm really excited about Isaiah Bryant. He's shown great. He's going to be a senior. He's shown great. He's kind of been a backup for the last 2 years. He's been a kickoff return guy, but he's put on some. He's up to 170 pounds, which is something that's always been a struggle for him to try to, because all of a sudden you look up and he'll be 155. So he's gotten his weight up. He's practicing well. He's leading well. He just looks really comfortable. So I'm excited about Isaiah. Landon Walker's a kid who has flashed some over the summer. We moved him to the Z Snipe. But he's another guy that for the first few days, it's how it is the first week of camp, these hamstrings get tight. So he's not getting quite as many reps as I'd like him to just because we're trying to get past through the hamstring stuff, But he's one that over the summer looked really comfortable moving from quarterback to help us out at Snipe. Looked like he's a guy who could contribute some snaps. Merrick Barlow is a young guy that flashed a lot the other day. Okay. He's a tight end that's another guy that missed spring with some injuries, but a big old 6'5" kid who can run, that he just needs reps. But I saw that. And then some young ex receivers, Truman Brassfield is a plebe who was at the prep school last year that shows flashes. Bash Bodley, okay, is a big old wideout. Okay, that's it. Now they're lost right now. Okay, their brains are about to explode, but they're showing me that they're going to have a chance in the future to be playmakers. And then we moved to Keem Clark to split in, and today he made an unbelievable. I don't know if you were out there, Scott. He made an unbelievable catch on a go ball that went up with one hand, got contorted his body, and showed an unbelievable flash of athleticism. Now he's still learning the position because he just came over from defense, right? But to see him go up and high point a ball, catch it one, do something athletic where you saw, hey, there's something there. So he made an unbelievable play today. So I don't know, I'm probably missing somebody, but those are some names that are floating around out there. Andre Gilbert's finally kind of healthy and getting some reps and has done some nice things. We've moved Trey Jones out to Z, kind of like, so he's kind of a year behind Charles on that whole moving from quarterback to Snipe thing, but once again, you see that the body type, his ability to adjust to footballs, he's just got to learn. He's just got to get reps, so I see some flashes there. Tight end wise, Jake Norris is a guy who's played a lot of snaps, very steady. But then you're hoping, between Jordan Collins, Theo Elwell, we talked about Barlow, Drew Hall is getting some quality reps at tight end. Those are guys that have a lot of athletic ability, but they just need reps, So, hopefully another week from now, I can dive a little deeper into what I think they are and how far they've come. But yeah, there's some young guys that have flashed and they just need to keep. We talk about getting their name buzzing. right? That kids that are, in the staff room, hey, their name's coming up because they're doing good things. Their names are buzzer. That we need to keep seeing that, keep developing consistency, and keep getting more and more comfortable.
Awesome. Just one more from me. A couple days ago, Brian told us how he thinks that you guys can step into a new era of Navy football. You just won 21 games the last 2 seasons. What does another step up look like from what you've gotten here in your first couple of years at Navy?
I mean, I don't know. I think Navy football is in a good place right now. I just think with the way things are in the world, I just think we're in a good place to be consistently a winning program. What does that mean each year? I mean, if you don't win at least 11 games, does that mean you took a step back? Winning 11 games is hard. Winning 10 games is hard. A lot of things got to go right. We won some games last year. We had some close games, some one possession games, and if you don't win one possession games, all of a sudden you look up to 11-2, you're 7-5, something like that. Okay, so there's so much that goes into the win-loss record. But I do agree that we're in a good place right now. But each year's different, and new guys have to step in. And we have to stay hungry. Okay. We've had a lot of young men over the last 2 years who had been through some hard times and they'd had enough of it. Right. And so those guys who were seniors the last 2 years really were hungry to do some things. Now, can we maintain that? Can we maintain it, that type of hunger to be that way? But it takes a certain amount of intensity and work and keeping a chip on your shoulder and knowing that if we back off at all and lose our edge, that affects the games. And so that's our challenge is now sometimes it's more challenging to maintain a high level year in and year out. Now, what you hope is you get that glue to dry over a 3, 4, 5 year span, and this just becomes who you are. So I think we're in that phase now of can we get the glue to dry? There's so many positives in place. Navy football's in a great place. Okay. But can we now do it every year? Can we just be the very best we can be every year? And I don't know what that looks like every year. Would we love to be in a college playoff? Absolutely. That's a goal to win the conference, to be in a college football playoff, obviously to win CIC championships. But winning is fickle and you got to do a lot of really hard things really well. And then the ball's got to bounce your way. Okay. And so how do you measure success is really where we are right now, right? And I think it's just being the best we can be and putting ourselves in good situations. And we got to go find ways with some new guys. Who's going to be the guy that we can count on at the end of the Temple game when some things have gone bad and we just figure out a way to win, right? Like we did last year. Just figure out a way to win a game. Who's going to be the guys who do that and thrive in those moments? And those are some questions that will be answered as we go forward with some of these new guys.
Thank you.
Navy was 5-0 last year in one possession games.
Yep.
Mike Pittman, do you have anything, Mike, or are you just listening?
I'm just listening. Thank you.
Okay. I will go back to Scott Wyckoff. You're muted, Scott. You're muted.
Coach, when you come into a season like this, as things are moving along on the recruiting front, do you notice a noticeable difference year to year? The athlete that's coming in now that you've been able with your staff to bring into the program, into your offense?
I felt really good. When I first walked in the door that first January, I was able to help a little bit with the signing class and the new coaches but it really was. I don't know how much of a difference we were able to make that late in that recruiting cycle. And plus we didn't have anything on fit, right? We hadn't done anything. Okay. Well, now when you have 2 seasons of, Blake Horvath making plays, Eli Heidenreich, Alex said, all that, and people see how we've evolved schematically. I feel like we've been able to get in some living rooms of some quarterbacks and receivers maybe that we didn't in the past. But it's hard to know yet because this group of plebes that went to the prep school that's here now, that's kind of our first group. So I think over the next 2 years, I think we'll know if we've done a good job recruiting. I feel really good about it, but the bottom line is, are these guys going to turn out to be the right ones, right? And so, but do I feel like I feel very warmly received when I walk in high schools. People I think are taking notice of what we're doing, and I get to recruit in the state of Georgia, which is my home. So those guys, which I appreciate, those guys take an interest in what we're doing, probably because of my background down there, my dad's background. But I feel like when we walk in high schools now, people know what we're doing. They see we're winning at a high level. We're winning bowl games. We're winning CIC championships. I just feel like people are aware of us, okay, and pretty. Uh, they're watching us play on TV, right? They've got a pretty good feel, and then we've got a lot of evidence to show, hey, here's what we're doing schematically, and this is why we think you'll fit us, okay? But still, the bottom line is them getting here and then developing that, and hopefully we hit, right? And recruiting is not an exact science, and sometimes Blake Horvath, when they signed Blake, like he was like a last minute decision. Okay, Blake Horvath. Well, who knew? Okay. Who else offered Eli Heidenreich out of high school? Okay. I think it was Davidson. Okay. So you want to do the best job you can of trying to stay in your profile, right? Being disciplined to stay in your profile. Find the young men you feel like fit your system and fit the Naval Academy, and then get them here and develop the dog out of them. Okay. And I think as far as the recruiting classes since I've been here, I'm really appreciative of the offensive staff and the way they've gone about. They work hard at recruiting, but I think we'll start really seeing if those things are adding up in another year or two. I think we're a year away from really knowing that.
Thanks.
Yep.
I'll throw out Landon Robinson too. He was headed to Lehigh to play linebacker before
Yeah.
Navy swooped in.
It's just
What? Yep.
not an exact science.
Wags.
Your first year you had success throwing the ball, and that led teams to defend that, and it opened up for you to lead the nation in rushing. My friend Mike James opines that it could go the other way, that after you led the nation in rushing, that maybe they'll push up to stop the run, and you could have some success throwing the ball. Do you think that could be the case?
I don't know. I think if I would think the natural progression of that would be, hey, we're losing, the best receiver in the history of Navy, statistically, in a couple of skill guys. So will they be a little more aggressive in the secondary? Will they run the alleys a little faster? I'm expecting that to be the case. I don't know. We'll have to kind of see. The bottom line is the reason they didn't roll downhill the last 2 years near as much is because we made plays. So if we don't make plays down the field, they'll be rolling up there. And if we do make plays down the field, that'll slow it down. So that's where we've got to be consistent. And we've got to hit the throws that are there and make catches and make plays and and when I say balanced, obviously we're going to run the football more than we throw it here. But having a good balanced deal where you can hurt people in different ways depending on what they're giving you. So I would expect people to be a little more aggressive downhill against the run. And we're going to work hard to make sure we're ready to hurt them when they do. But we'll just kind of have to see how people choose to play us.
Obviously, pressure on Victor Lastordi trying to fill in for Alex Texa. How does Victor look, and who's pushing him? Barrow?
Vic has some ability, and I think he's about as comfortable right now as I've seen him. And so I think Vic could have a good year for us. And then you've got kind of committee. You're looking out there, and Ezra's out there. That's a kid we moved from Divas who shows flashes. You've got Jaden Jones that does some things. You got the big freshman now, Big Cromer. I'm curious to see. He's a load, okay? He's a load, and he's smart. And he's had a little bit of a nagging deal this summer too, so I hadn't got to see him quite as much as I'd like. But in the spring, he showed me some things. And then Egby, he teases me sometimes, because he shows flashes. Because Egby's a big kid that can run the ball, and this is about as consistent as he's been the first week of this camp, and he needs to stay healthy and keep stacking days. So we've got to as coaches as we keep moving forward right there. Um, we're going to have to narrow down who we're going to giving reps to, and these guys have got to show me. One of the main themes was who in here is going to show me that I better get him the ball because I need to go home. My wife needs to go, hey, we need to get this guy the ball. That's how many plays you need to make. When my wife says we need to get that guy the ball more, okay, and so don't make me crazy for not giving you the ball. And so we got guys that are showing some flashes. We just got to see more consistency, narrow that down, keep giving them opportunities. And once again, we're producing. How? Producing where, right? What position is going to produce? Who needs to be getting touches? And our quarterbacks now can run the ball. Okay. Braxton and Jackson both are dangerous with the football. So, we need to be creative offensively about how we get people touches in different situations. And we need guys to keep showing us that they need the touches.
So Braxton mentioned this, and then I actually was talking to Blake Horvath, and he said the same thing, that last year, or for the last 2 years, you had Alex and Eli, and they were going to get a lot of touches because they were proven weapons, and Blake was going to get plenty of opportunities.
Yeah,
to make
and
plays.
Chat showed us,
That too, right?
Absolutely.
Well, both Blake and Braxton talked about spreading the wealth more around instead of relying on 2, 3 guys. Probably, trying to spread the wealth and get 6, 7 guys involved. Do you see that? Envision that happening?
Yeah, I do. I agree with that. I just think and sometimes that can be it can be better. If people are getting it done, right? Because if you just can't key in on one person, the ability for ball to get into a lot of different hands can be a strength. Yeah, so I do think that the ball will be spread around a little more. Like I said, the thing for me is going to be I got to do a good job of managing that, and as the season goes, how that's the fun thing about I feel like over the years is that we've been able to have a starting point, but then maneuver ourselves towards what our kids really do well. Okay. And that's going to be really important this fall is how do we matriculate the ball down the field? Okay. The bottom line is getting first downs and then obviously getting touchdowns and managing how we go about that. And then being great decision making at quarterback. Okay. That's going to be, when these guys, we've harped on them, we can't have an empty place. So if you got a chance to step up in the pocket and roll somewhere, if you can go run for 7 or 8 yards, we got to go do that. You don't have to throw it down the field every time and it be a 50-50 ball. How are we gonna just put us in 2nd and 5, right? And then get ourselves in a 3rd and short. And then when the big play is there, we've got to hit it, but we got to manage that and when to be aggressive, when to take the shots, and then when to go gain 5. Okay. And that's where I think our quarterbacks can have the most growth over the next week is just from a decision making. How are we going to go gain yards and put our offense in the next play that gives us the best opportunity for me to call something else, right? And every time you get a first down, you give a chance for me to call you 3 more plays. Okay. And us being able to do that and the quarterbacks understanding that. Because they're very talented and sometimes they want to make a play so bad that they don't just go gain me the 5 yards, go gain the 6 yards, get it to the right guy in space, and then the big plays will happen organically. So that's where I want to see, like I said, in the quarterback room, just continue to grow in that area about decision making, about what to do with the football in which situation.
Thanks,
And
Drew.
that concludes the session. One small correction. Cromer is a sophomore this year, not a freshman. So I just want to make sure. Yeah, you did.
Oh,
That's
my
okay,
bad. No. Yeah, he's gonna be a 2nd-year guy. So yeah, sorry about that.
And you didn't move him to guard.
No. We're gonna now. He may be a guard in the backfield, but he's got. Listen now, that kid's got good feet. and and he's a load. So it's hard to tackle a 250-pound man. It's a tough deal. So we're gonna figure him out, and I like him though.
Thanks, Drew.
Appreciate
thanks
you.
everyone. We'll be
Yeah,
back with
thank
Coach
you. Bye-bye.
Lewis on Wednesday. Coach Lewis on Wednesday. See you at practice tomorrow.